Hi, everybody. I'm a medically retired police officer. I work patrol, supplemental SWAT, peer support, academy instructor for fitness and officer survival. Also, when I was a cop, I was a full-time college strength coach at Yale and then at Georgetown. And I did campus ministry for athletes. So I kind of have a hybrid background. I'm not your typical chaplain. And what I do now in Los Angeles for police and fire organizations, as well as PTSD facilities and substance abuse facilities, is do chaplain peer support and a lot of wellness stuff. I also do it for nonprofits, and I still do some work with athletes. What I want to talk about real quickly today, and then have a session where you can ask questions, but I want more of a dialogue, because this is a big problem in our profession that was when I worked the streets, and now I deal with every day, and that is destigmatizing self-care, as well as normalizing therapy and seeking help when you need it. People come into this profession, and the badge of honor is bragging about how much overtime you work, how little you sleep, how you can suck up this and that and barely take care of yourself. And people laugh when they get divorces. There's so much stress, trauma, misery, the suffering of other people that we deal with on this job. And people like to pretend that it doesn't bother them, but it does. I heard these things back then, and I hear it every day now. If I do something to take better care of myself, or I go to therapy, or I ask for help, that means I'm weak, I'm broken, I'm crazy, I'm a burden to other people, I'm a bitch, I'm a pussy, et cetera, et cetera. My partners won't trust me. It didn't bother other people on the call, didn't bother anybody on the team or other people on my shift. And that just is not true, because I hear it 100% of the time from people that are dealing with the PTSD, the addictions, and suicidal ideation. So how can we destigmatize self-care and seeking help? And when I say self-care, I don't mean just mental PTSD and suicide. I mean mental health, emotional health, which is our feelings, what's going on in our heart. And I know that sounds woo-woo, touchy-feely, but you can't deny it. There's things you see that affect you, either make you happy or things that frickin' should break anybody's heart. Also our bodies. And in addition to the physical fitness, you need to be effective on the job and boost your cognitive function and your immunity. Stress and trauma is stored in the body. So we need to pay attention to our bodies to also manage all the things that we see on the street, as well as spirituality. And spirituality does not have to do with religion. I think everybody has a spirituality, whether you identify as having it or not. But how do you live out the values in your life that are most important to you? How do you relate to people in the community? How do you relate to humanity? And how do you relate to a higher power if you do believe in one? And are you still finding meaning and satisfaction on the job? And right now, I think that's harder than ever. So I want to talk about a few quotes and one analogy before we go into the breakout. The first quote is, self-care is not selfish. I wish we could push that. Self-care is not selfish versus, hey man, suck it up. Like it starts in the academy and in the FTO. Let's go drink, let's go screw, let's do all these self-medicating, numbing, and distracting things rather than taking care of ourselves. But if your well goes dry, you can't give anybody else a drink of water. The next quotes I like to bring up, one is by Richard Rohr, famous spirituality author. Pain that is not transformed is transmitted. Pain that is not transformed is transmitted, as well as if you don't heal what hurt you, you will bleed on people that did not cut you. You see pain, misery, evil, darkness, negativity every single day. So whether you acknowledge it or not, it's going on somewhere in your body and unconsciously. So are we going to transmit that pain to our family or back out to the community on the next call if we didn't deal with or calm down after the last call? Depending on who you read or what peer support classes you go to, I've heard anywhere from a cop sees 188 up to 500 critical incidents in their career. And a regular civilian might see 1, 2, or 3 in the course of their life. You might see 1 or 2 in a week or in a shift. And each one of those incidents could potentially cause PTSD down the road if you don't process your thoughts and your feelings around it. There was also a paper in the 80s or 90s where somebody said that a police career sees as much trauma and violence as an 18-month combat tour in Vietnam. Plus, we're never off duty. We are deployed constantly for the 20 or 30 years of our career. So when are we going to get away from the badge of honor as the guy that doesn't sleep, drinks, works overtime, buys all these toys, skydives, drives 100,000 miles per hour, or even there's tackleberry types that, and I'm all about training. That's a whole other topic. But if you're a tackleberry and all you do is CrossFit and jujitsu and work, and you don't do anything to balance the yin and the yang, you're going to end up having problems down the road too, most likely. And whether the people out there know it or not, cops have shorter lifespans than any other profession. We know about the suicide. We have higher rates of cancer, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, stroke, on and on and on. And a lot of this can be correlated or attributed to not taking care of stress and not confronting all the misery and the darkness that we deal with. So I like to use the analogy of a car. Out here in California, it's crazy. There's cops that they get paid good. They work overtime. I see Raptors, F-250 Roushes, lifted Jeep Rubicons, Audis, Maseratis, you name it. And these cops take care of those cars meticulously. And they did back east, the guys that bought the way too expensive car when they got out of the academy. They buy their dream car. They take care of it big time. But what about our own self-care? Like with the fancy car, you're the most favorite car you've owned in your life. Think about it. Do you wait till the steel belts are showing on the tires before you change them? Do you wait till the brakes are squeaking at every red light and stop sign before you change the brakes? Unfortunately, I think a lot of people in law enforcement do that. And when the check engine light comes on, you know what somebody does in law enforcement? They take a piece of black electrical tape, they put it on the check engine light to cover it up, and then they mash the gas pedal. And as they're hauling ass down the road and they hear some rattling or the engine knock, and then they crank the stereo up so they don't hear that. They might even buy an amp. We need to move away from being the macho stuff. It's in society too. Like, people don't want to take care of themselves or get therapy because there's a negative stigma. But these people are not dealing with what cops deal with. We know what the statistics are. And all that stuff I rattled off was before 2020. It's even much, much worse now. So I would love to have a discussion with everybody about how we can destigmatize self-care, how we can normalize therapy, asking for help. And why don't we make the peer pressure like the cops that's squared away and is trying to, I don't know, somebody's doing yoga, meditation, art, woodworking, journaling, Tai Chi. They do go to therapy. They do go on a retreat. Instead of working that extra shift of overtime, they get a massage or acupuncture, chiropractic, float tank. They go for a walk in the woods. They take their wife and their kids out to their favorite restaurant. Like, we need more life balance. We need more self-care. And at a bare minimum, I mean, in the breakout session, if people are from peer support and you want to talk about that, or if you're a leader in your agency and you want to talk about how you can make changes, we can do that in the breakout. But as a profession, I'll end with a story where every one of us can start making a change with this. And man, the peer pressure is unbelievable. I hear this all the time. People don't want other people to know if they're taking better care of themselves or they're going to therapy. So if the peer pressure and you're not ready to tell other people you're taking better care of yourself, do it on the down low. Like, just do it. But I hope if you're a leader or if you're on peer support or you're somebody that's got super street credibility, that you step up and share some of the things you do to have better balance in your life and take care of yourself. The story is about these retreats we were putting on before COVID happened. And we hope to put them on after COVID. We put on peer support retreats, and we want to put on proactive retreats for law enforcement and fire before there's breakdown. There's great retreats out there for after you have PTSD, addiction, and suicidal ideation. There's great retreats where you go eat well, nature, therapy, small group sharing, yoga, meditation, art, journaling. You do all this beautiful stuff. And if that can save some people's lives when they're rock bottom, why don't we do retreats or in-service training or academy training of some of those tools so you learn how to manage it throughout your career and you don't experience breakdown. So on the second year of one of these peer support retreats up on Orca Island, this fireman showed me a journal and he said, "Hey, I've been working on what you taught me last year." And the journal had a title, WYOSF. And I was like, "Dude, I didn't teach that. That must have been Dr. Becknell. I have no idea what you're talking about." And he goes, "No, man, last year on the plane ride home," he's from Los Angeles, so we got to sit together on the plane. he reminded me that he was so stressed out or more excited. How is he going to implement everything he experienced on this retreat for his firehouse, for all his guys, because he's in a leader role? And then he said he believed in it so much, he's like, how am I going to implement this with my family, with my wife and my kids? And apparently I had told him, work on your own shit first, which is where the WIOSF comes from. So he spent that whole year doing a bunch of things for himself, because experientially is the only way we can learn. You can't go get certified in leadership or wellness or fitness or mental health by doing check the box PowerPoint stuff. You need to take a little bit of information and then consistently, with discipline and passion, apply it to your life. You start working on your own stuff first, you will affect your coworkers, and you'll affect your family, and you'll affect your agency in a ripple effect. So at a bare minimum, if you don't even come to the breakout, I hope everybody out there reflects on self-care isn't selfish. Think about pain that isn't transformed is transmitted, and reflect on your life, because you'll see that you've done it, and so have people in the community. We see the people we lock up repeating the same things that happened to them. So pain that isn't transformed is transmitted. And if you don't heal what hurt you, you will bleed on people that did not cut you. And work on your own stuff first.